Got it.
I wanted to ask you first of all about the music, about the songs that Minor Threat does. What about Don't Want to Hear It? I wanted to know about It Follows, like why you wrote it and what was the motivation behind it. What about, you said there were 3 ideas. Would you say that the dancing is kind of the ideal of what you want the scene to be? It's supportive and everything else instead of the backstabbing like within No Reason and It Follows and Don't Want to Hear It. And what is their goal? What are they trying to accomplish? Why do you scream? And why is it so fast? And why can't you understand the lyrics? The way you dress, and the way the hardcore, well, not hardcore. Could you explain to why the people that are in the scene, whatever, dress like you? And dress like the people in the bands. Why is that? A lot of them seem to dress the same way. Can you talk a little bit about the politics or what some of the contradictions in the scene? Like sometimes, you know, it's people say it's apolitical, and then on the other hand, you have some political ideas. And why do you think hardcore happened? Can you talk about straight edge? Talk about discord. Why are you doing what you're doing? How do you feel about that? What do you think will happen now?
That's one difference. Say when people go to the Wax Museum.
There's some general idea that made this thing happen. I mean, I know everybody's individuals and they all think differently, but
what is going to happen to these kids when they have to go and earn money to support themselves? I mean, but then how do you justify heading up this record company? Say if you had a friend who, you know, was killed in Central America.
don't they have a misconception of being afraid of people involved in the hardcore music scene?
Anything else that you can think of?
It's kind of like the hippies maybe look at me for who I am, not what I look like.
Talking before about the hippies. Do you think you're the hippies of the 80s then? Some of your ideas are the, you know, non-exploitive stuff like that, and the fact that you are getting bigger. I mean, are you an angry person or? So do you think you're going to go further underground?
How will you know when you've reached the point of insincerity?
I don't know. A lot of people I know, or everyone maybe, just feel the great uselessness. You just, I mean, you're a human being, and it's also big. You know, the world is so big, and everything is just so untouchable and unreachable that they just want to do something that they can be a part of, and they can like mold and they can make, because all through their life, you know, all through their school, they're brought up, and they tell you all about people who created this and created that. You've been given a great, you know, everything you want. An accepted social scene, you know, the whole alcohol thing, and an accepted music scene is all there for you. And people don't want it, and they just say fuck it. They don't want that. They want, you know, they want to be part of something. I can tell you that when I got interested in the music or whatever, like the alternative lifestyle or whatever, it was not hardcore. It was like punk rock, or even actually it was even new wave. The general idea was basically me and about 10 other people deciding that we wanted to play our own music and we wanted to do like our own thing, and it built on from that. And Washington was a really strong scene, and when there was a show, it was like it was not just a show, it was like a full-on, you know, party. A lot of hardcore stuff is fast, very aggressive and loud, you know, music, angry music, and I think that the dancing, it reflects the music naturally, and you just want to get going. You know, that's like the whole energy thing once again. The stage diving was just something that we saw in California and sort of emulated. When we used to dance, it was definitely violent, but it was also somehow much more choreographed. Whereas, first of all, we didn't go in a circle, which I think is something about that really bugs me, okay? And number two, we sort of just weaved in and out, and we worked with each other, and it was not like hurting, and nothing. We were pretty like, people dance to the music, which has sort of gone away in the last 6 months. People don't seem to dance to music anymore. They sort of run around and, you know, be crazy or whatever, which is fun and dandy. But so back then it was a lot more choreographed. When you go off a stage and you have like friends who are going to catch you, there's a feeling behind that, which is great. Like a great example is how we open the doors of clubs. There's no overage shows in Washington, no hardcore overage shows at all, because
why were you kicked out of clubs?
Violence or just aggression or just scared, or a lot of times the bars died, didn't make any money, wasn't worth it to them.
Why?
Not worth all the fucking because people don't drink. People didn't drink. I mean, some people do, but they don't. I mean, you know, they don't. It's not enough. And there's not an emphasis on drinking. The emphasis is on the band and the people. It follows. Because just the whole thing about when you become. Why I became a punk or whatever, and when I became a punk was to escape all the bullshit that, you know, the social scene of high school and just the typical normal stuff. And here I thought that I was like, you know, because I had become a punk, that I was like, you know, we were all so much above it now, and, you know, that we had to deal with it, and all of a sudden I realized that, you know, that social scene is the punk scene now, and it's all caught up to me anyway, you know, and that even though I thought I was escaping it the whole time, I wasn't. It was there the whole time anyway, just a different shape. Sort of like a bitter realization, you might say, you know, tap me on the back. I don't want to hear it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all my songs, I write my songs, I mean, I have one thing in mind usually, or maybe a few things in mind, but it starts to apply to everything. When I first wrote I Don't Want to Hear It, it was basically about, you know, just about people talking, like, you know, about how good, you know, how great they were, or how, you know, how they were so together or whatever, and that kind of stuff, and it was all bullshit for someone to say, like, you know, oh yeah, I got my shit together, or, you know, it's a lie, and it's just like, I don't even want to hear it anymore, just, you know, because as we start out, I mean, that's pretty, I mean, to me, the meaning of that's pretty obvious. I don't know, I mean, I don't know what you're looking for exactly. No, I mean, every song has, like, I mean, I get drive, or whatever, I get this, like, the want to write the song with one or two things in mind, it sparks me. Halfway through the song, I start realizing that it covered a lot of stuff, and 2 months later, after I write the song, I realized that it could apply to almost anybody or anything. I'm not gonna go sell people on my ideas. I'm not gonna go out and like try to get people to convert to hardcore or do whatever.
Why are you doing what you're doing?
Because it's for me, not for anyone else. It's for, it's for other people. But what I'm doing is to get my own shit out, and I'm not trying to convert. I'm not into like selling. That's one of that. I hate fucking organized religion for that, because it seems disgusting to me that that would sell something that supposedly means so much to you. If I can respect myself and I can respect you or whatever, and then you can respect yourself and respect me, well then that's two people, and if we can make it four, that'd be nice, and then so on and so on. And it's idealistic, I'm sure, but certainly no more idealistic than for me to go, yes, I'm going to go out and change the world. It's bullshit. The world, I can't change, this block. My mom might be able to change a block, but I can't change a city, that's for sure. And I don't think I can change, I know I can't change a country. In the world, I don't even know enough about the world to even begin to even want to change it. I'm not even sure the world's all that bad. The hippies failed, Here they had done it, they're the ones who struck out against the whole regular old shit. And, they just settled down and got their careers happening, just like, and I'm sure the punks will do it too, but at least these kids can get a spark and just try to like fucking put together, create or mold something on your own and not play on someone else's playground. Well, let's say what used to go on here used to be totally different than what used to go on in LA and what used to go on in San Francisco and what used to go on in New York. And now that it's become a more national music, and it is getting more national, the scenes are not that much different, not that much more unique, and they're all becoming the same generic kind of stuff. Well, Minor Threat, we're playing a game of chicken. This game of chicken is where we ride our vehicle as long as we can and jump off before we sell out.
Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to Art Lounge. This is the project stream, and what you guys just watched was an interview with Imakai. He is the lead singer of Minor Threat, and at the beginning of the stream, you guys saw the song "I'm Not Your Stepping Stone" from their album. I highly encourage you guys to check out the full album. It's great music, great songs, and just to give you a little bit more info about who the band is, you guys might have heard of the straight edge movement, and that was something that was pretty much brought on by that band. They pioneered it in a sense, but it was never meant to be a movement. As you guys heard from him, he said that he's not interested in converting people, and that most of the songs written, it was just because that's his self-expression. That is his form of art. They weren't meant to be any sort of like religious and dogmatic texts for people to follow because they listened to his music. It was just his self-expression, and it just inadvertently turned into something that a lot of people wanted to follow. So what the straight edge movement was at the time, it was something that he was talking about, which is not converting to social standards. Not doing things that, this is what you do. If you're this age, you're going to drink. Or if you're this age, you're going to have promiscuous sex. Or if you're this age, you're going to do this, that, and the other. And he basically said, I don't want to do that, And as somebody else that mentioned in an interview, you are an individual. And as an individual and as a person, you have the freedom to choose to do things as you want to do. And you shouldn't be penalized for them, especially if they're peaceful forms of living. You should be able to listen to the music that you want to listen to, go to the shows that you want to go to, dance how you want to dance, dress and look how you want to look without being discriminated or shunned or, rejected because you don't fit into the mold of societal standards. And that was like the biggest movement of punk rock. That was what punk rock originated from. It was to move away from social standards, move away from these boxed in ways of seeing people, seeing each other, and just kind of having these expectations. And if you didn't meet them, then in some ways you were thrown out or cast out, or if you're talking about organized religion, they would look at you as like you were the devil worshiper, and that at that time it was used as propaganda against anything that they didn't seem to fit their mold, and it also played into going against capitalism, fascist capitalism, where pretty much if you didn't want to conform, if you didn't want to dress like they dress, talk about the things that they talk about, think like they think, if you dared to step out of these lines, then you were kind of doomed in a sense, or shunned, or looked at as a terrible person, which is all of it is nonsense. It depends on your actions and how you treat others, which is what Immakai was talking about. If I could respect myself and you could respect yourself and we could respect each other, that's great. That's one person, that's two people, and then hopefully four, and so on and so forth. That was his idea. Despite his music being quote unquote aggressive, it showed a lot of frustration with at the time it really applied, but it still applies to this day. It hasn't really changed much. These frustrations are still around, as you guys can see, where anything that isn't what is commonly accepted or isn't part of this like fascist capitalist system is considered to be shunned and is repressed, and oppressed, basically. So it's still the same story, still the same ideas. And he was basically just talking about that. As an individual, you should be able to express yourself. You should be able to be unique, and you shouldn't be shunned or cast out or treated as if though you're some cretin. A lot of creativity stems from being an individual, being a person who chooses to do things differently, to choose to think differently, to view things differently, to dress even differently, to look differently. Those are all areas where creativity stems from, and to oppress that is just a systemic way of serving capitalism. The more you fit into the mold, the more brainwashed you are, the more easily controlled you are because of those things. If you think like everybody else thinks, you don't want to be shunned out. You're too scared. You want to make sure that you fit in. You dress, you think, you behave, you listen, dance, and act like they expect you to act. It fits perfectly. You're predictable, and you're easily conformed into what they want you to think, act, and do, which is something that's very familiar, isn't it? It's something that happened in the past where if you didn't praise a certain symbol, or if you didn't dress like one, or if you didn't conform to a certain political movement, then you were basically killed even. You were thrown out, or you were executed, or whatever it is. So those historical events were pretty much led by that kind of idea. This very much like conformist and specific look and thinking and behavior and action was all led by that sort of idea, that there is no room for individualism, and if you look differently, you will face these consequences. So you guys can see how that still is the case in a lot of ways. And that band basically was against it. And the whole punk rock movement was against that as well. It was to say that, especially in America, especially in American values, it talks about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So regardless of your skin color, regardless of your religious belief or gender, you should be able to pursue these things. Those are the true values of it. And when those things are trampled upon, then you're facing something that is trying to destroy those values, that is trying to destroy and reestablish something that we fought off many times through history whether it was the Stalin regime, right, where people were executed in their own country for not praising this one person who was incredibly tyrannical and oppressive and killed many people, to Nazi Germany, which is the same concept, where people didn't want to respect any individualism, and those who didn't conform to that regime were executed or removed or whatever, tortured, killed. So that all those movements are just an example of what happens when individualism is oppressed, is repressed, and conformity is demanded. So yeah, you guys got just a little bit of preview to what the punk rock movement was about, which really started around like the late 1970s, early 80s, and that band Minor Threat was formed in the 1980s. They didn't, they weren't around for too long. They were around for 3 years, but within these 3 years, you guys can see how much they've actually influenced history, how much they've influenced people and their ways of seeing life and the way they were looking at interaction, in a sense. And I think that even though I wouldn't label myself straight edge, I do commend that idea, that movement, the fact that people were so dedicated to just not doing what everybody else is expected to do. No, you want to go drink? Well, I don't really want to, and I shouldn't be looked at as a different person. Or you want to do drugs? I don't want to. That isn't the social scene. I don't have to do those things to be accepted or to be normal or to be to have a good time. Why do I have to do those things? And a lot of times people fall into that pressure because, again, they don't want to be shunned. They don't want to be looked at as different and to be rejected in some ways. But they didn't care, and Iamachai didn't care about that. And he said, I'm going to continue to live the way I want to live and do the things that I want to do without having to constantly answer to like this standard, answer to these expectations that I might not agree with, that I might not like. And that really speaks for a form of individualism, to really appreciate your own perspective on things and having a broader sense of reality, a broader sense of what's really important, what's really valuable, and to have a mind of your own, not to be programmed by people, not to be constantly ruled by what others want to do, what others expect of you. And, thinking about things yourself, figuring out why are these behaviors important? Why are they not important? Taking the time to actually think about, like, well, all these things are kind of expected. They're popular. Do I really like them? Do I appreciate them? Do I find them to be valuable? And why are they valuable?